Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today because we are diving headfirst into one of the most massive, unexpected cultural collisions you can possibly imagine. We are stepping right beside a crew of rugged Vikings on their very first day exploring a magnificent, sprawling Maya metropolis known as the Sun City. I mean, just imagine the sheer, unfiltered shock of these seafarers waking up in a civilization completely alien to their own, a world where their heavy furs and battle axes are suddenly, well, completely useless. Today, we're going to trace their footsteps, experience their absolute awe, and uncover their incredible discoveries.
To really get this, you have to imagine stepping out of a world defined by muddy paths and dark timber structures into an absolute sensory explosion. The Vikings are suddenly walking on wide, paved causeways that just stretch on seemingly forever. And instead of wooden longhouses, they are surrounded by these colossal buildings made of gleaming white stone, decorated with vibrant murals showing cosmic events and ancient battles. It is a total mind-bending paradigm shift from mud and wood to pristine, monumental stone. So here is our roadmap for the Explainer today. We'll follow their morning tour of the infrastructure and pyramids, hit the central market mid-morning, check out the centers of knowledge in the afternoon, and wrap up with evening hospitality and rest.
All right, Section 1, Wonders of Stone and Water. Let's look at the infrastructure.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how these specific Vikings react based entirely on their own life skills. Adolf Gustavus is almost giddy, right? He's darting his eyes everywhere and recognizing the genius astronomical alignments in the architecture. But then you have Swen the shipwright and Gerd the blacksmith. These are men who work with their hands for a living, and they were absolutely mystified. They're running their hands over these perfectly fitted stone blocks, completely baffled by how the Maya achieved such flawless precision without using a single iron tool. No way, right?
And I want you to really try and feel the atmosphere they walked into. It wasn't just a visual shock, it was a completely new acoustic world for them. The air actually hummed with a distant murmur of thousands of voices, layered with the steady, rhythmic beat of unseen drums. It was a living, breathing, pulsing city that just completely enveloped all their senses. Talk about a fish out of water. The Vikings are the undisputed masters of the harsh, violent, open oceans. But here, they're stunned by something completely different. They're looking at an intricate, peaceful system of waterways and canals winding right through the city's sections. They watch these flat-bottomed canoes gliding silently by, heavily laden with goods. To a Viking accustomed to the freezing, violent North Sea, a perfectly engineered, peaceful river commute was probably the most baffling thing they had ever seen.
Moving right along to Section 2, Shadow of the Gods.
Right in the center of the city, they're brought to the base of two colossal pyramids. One is dedicated to the sun god, rising up in these perfectly tiered steps with a summit temple that looks like it pierces the very sky. The other is just as immense, but it's deeply carved with intricate glyphs that tell the entire story of the Maya cosmos and their ancestors. I mean, these structures completely dwarfed absolutely anything the Vikings had ever built, or even seen before in their lives. Now, you might expect some hostility or fear when two wildly different warrior cultures meet, right? But instead, the Vikings felt a deep, shared religious awe. The ancient warrior Håkon just stared up in total silent reverence, while Svinloki, ever the devout Norseman, actually started murmuring prayers to Odin. They were standing there looking up at these literal mountains of stone, genuinely wondering if these mighty pyramids honored gods similar to their own. Okay, on to Section 3, the vibrant central market. Imagine stepping into this absolute explosion of life. Thousands of people bartering, a melodic cacophony of voices, and just a kaleidoscopic array of goods. Piles of vibrant tropical fruits, huge bundles of raw cotton, intricately woven, brightly colored textiles, gleaming razor-sharp obsidian tools, shimmering featherwork, and pots completely overflowing with aromatic, pungent spices. The sheer volume and variety were just overwhelming. It completely eclipsed the simpler, much quieter markets of the frozen north. But look at how they processed this chaos. They immediately filtered this overwhelming experience through their own practical expertise. Christina, the hunter, locked right onto the variety of animal hides and the brilliant efficiency of the Maya hunting equipment. Ranveig, the healer, lingered at the stalls of medicinal herbs, exchanging gestures with vendors over these mysterious plants. And Uberik, the tactical mind,
He stood back and calculated the massive flow of goods, immediately recognizing the immense wealth and trade potential here. It just goes to show that even in the most alien environments, we anchor ourselves using what we already know.
Let's move into Section 4, Centers of Maya Knowledge. As the day started to wind down, they walked past the scribe school, which was a place dedicated purely to knowledge. Here, young Maya sat diligently, painting highly intricate hieroglyphs onto bark paper and carving them into stone to preserve their history. This fascinated Adolf so much that he actually promised his Maya contact, Chak Ek, that he would return. It really highlights how deeply these Norsemen, who relied mostly on oral traditions themselves, respected this immense, organized dedication to preserving written knowledge. But amidst all this high culture, they also took time to ground themselves. They toured expansive, vibrant green herb gardens tended by apprentices, and they actually sat down right in the market for a simple lunch. They ate roasted maize, beans, and fresh fruit. Let me tell you, that is a far cry from salted fish at hardtack. It's these grounded, simple moments of shared food and agriculture that truly humanized the Maya for the exhausted but utterly exhilarated Viking crew.
And that brings us to Section 5, Evening Rest and Hospitality. Think about what a Viking sailor is used to on a daily basis: cramped, damp longship quarters or rough improvised shelters on the land. In stark contrast, the Maya provided them with incredibly spacious, clean, and cool rooms. We're talking fresh linens, comfortable woven sleeping mats, intricately carved wooden chests for their gear, and even a dedicated staff just to bring them food and water. This must have felt like an absolute 5-star luxury resort to a rugged, sea-weary sailor.
But before leaving them for the night, their guide Kooballu shows them something amazing. He points to a small, polished stone hanging by their door and says, "Should you require my translation at any time, simply touch this stone." This is the moment Kooballu introduces an absolutely ingenious piece of Maya infrastructure that gives the Vikings ultimate security and convenience in a completely strange land. I just love how elegantly simple yet highly effective this system is. Step 1, you just touch the polished stone tablet. Step 2, a dedicated runner stationed nearby is immediately summoned right to the door. Step 3, that runner either sprints to fetch Kooballu or carries a direct message to the Aho's council. It ensures that the flow of communication between these two vastly different worlds remains totally open, day or night. That had to bring an immediate, deep sense of safety and welcome to the Vikings. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of an absolutely mind-bending first day. As these rugged, battle-hardened seafarers finally fall asleep, surrounded by gleaming stone marvels, cool linens, and a silent network of urban canals, we really have to ask ourselves, how will this peaceful, awe-inspiring encounter with such an advanced, prosperous metropolis permanently alter the Vikings' trajectory? When you have seen the Sun City, can you ever truly go back to the mud and the cold of the north? Thank you so much for exploring this incredible collision of worlds with me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next Explainer.